Hi everyone, this is Darcy Chiho, and I'm live today here with our guest, Megan Nolan. So we are going to talk today about using yoga to help you stress less and get more things done in your business. So I'm excited that Megan's here with us. And I'm just going to introduce her really quick, and then I'm going to just kind of let her take the show for us. But Megan's a personal trainer and a yoga instructor. She has over 15 years of experience helping busy entrepreneurs prioritize self-care in their lives and in their business. So she's the founder of online yoga programs, Yoga at My Desk, and more recently, Wake the Warrior Within. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about those today. But to start us out, Megan, you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to this year?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Darcy, for having me. Great to be here with you all. So yeah, just a little bit about me. My background was in gerontology. So that's the study of aging from the sociological and psychological perspective. And when I graduated, I was like, I cannot go work in a nursing home or retirement home. I'm so sensitive and empathetic that it just wasn't for me. So I decided to take a more preventative, proactive approach to aging and became a personal trainer, much to my parents' chagrin, but they were happy, So that was what I started with. And then I realized that I wanted to complement that with yoga because I'd been practicing yoga for about 5 years at that point, and I was curious and I wanted to learn more. And so I realized that, those two worlds are actually quite complementary. So that's been the work that I've done, is kind of weave together the, exercise science and movement and all that, cardio, all that, with the like postural elements, the mind-body connection of yoga. So to bring them together into every session that I do. So, a lot of that I was doing here. I live on Maui. And so a lot of that I was doing with different local businesses, going into, taught yoga inside all the power plants and multiple financial institutions, which is kind of a funny experience. And then March came and COVID, and they were like, okay, no, we're not doing that anymore. Everybody go in your house. You guys know the drill. You've been in the same situation. So that really shifted everything in my business. And luckily I already had an online component. That's the Yoga at My Desk program that Darcy mentioned already. And so that was already in existence. And so that was, a way for me to begin to focus. And at first I was feeling really good about that, but then started to get, started feeling anxious about what had happened to my business and all the contracts that I'm not going to have and started getting really anxious. And I was, started to do a meditation to help kind of ground myself out and connecting to, and asking for guidance is what I should do next. And remembered, I kind of got this little voice in my ear. It was like, you're a warrior, you know what to do. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that whole other project of Wake the Warrior Within. And so that came to life in April of 2020. And so I've been really focusing on that, growing that, developing, it was already pretty much all there. I had just never really shared it with the world. So that's been my focus for the last few months. And it's been really amazing to have that tool set for myself, something to focus on and, keep me moving forward, but also giving people these powerful tools to help them feel grounded and strong and keep their immune systems, tip top and their stress levels down and all that. So that's kind of what I've been up to for the last few months.
Awesome. You've been all over the place. Your Wake the Warrior Within program is really cool. I was actually, I'm a participant, as Megan knows, but just so all of you know, I was a participant, and it's structured as like a 21-day program. And I think she's got some other offerings going on too that she's going to talk a little bit about, but it's a 21-day program that basically just walks you through all of the different warrior poses and teaches you all about it along the way. It's really a cool program. I enjoyed it a lot. So why don't you talk next to us about why self-care is essential for business owners?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So we all know that we've got like a to-do list a mile long, right? And the reality of that is that for some reason, taking care of ourselves, unless we make it a priority and it's something that we are, committed to and we schedule in, it tends to slide all the way to the bottom of the list. And the reality of that is that in order for your business to thrive, you need to be thriving, right? Because we need to show up as our best self. And in order to show up as our best self, we need to be feeling good, feeling strong, feeling energized, having focus, sleeping well, all of those things. And so all of those things are side effect of self-care and taking care of ourselves, right? And so in order for us to show up as our best self in our work, then making time for ourselves in whatever form that is. It doesn't have to be yoga. It doesn't have to be, working out. It can be taking your dog for a walk and just being really intentional about what you're doing. It could be meditating, going to the beach and watching the waves. It could be gardening. It could be Tai Chi, whatever you love to do that really lights you up. And that's so important, right? Is that we are feeling lit up, because with so much to do all the time as business owners, that can be very draining and exhausting. And so it's really important that we're continually like filling the cup. It's like that same analogy of like, you can't pour from an empty cup. And the best case scenario is that our cup is so full that it's overflowing, that we have extra to share, right? Because otherwise, if we're just constantly pouring out of the cup, then we get depleted. And that sets the stage for burnout, anxiety, sick, potentially getting sick, getting hurt, all those things that come from just like hustling and pushing through all the time. So it's really important that you have some of your time and attention, and that your health and happiness is a priority in your life, so that you can be showing up as your best self in your business.
Absolutely. It's a lot easier to prevent burnout than it is to recover from it. That's for sure.
Yes. It sounds like you've had experience with that.
I have.
Yeah.
So I guess while we're talking about that, what would you say your best tip for someone would be who says they just don't have time to fit self-care into their schedule? They're so busy, they just don't have time for those sorts of self-care things. I'd
be a little cheeky and start with like, I know we all have, commitments to social media as online business owners, and business owners in general, we need to have an online presence. But the reality of that is, how much time do you think that you just spend like mindlessly scrolling, right? Where you're not intentionally being there for your business. And the reality of that question, or that answer, is that probably more than we realize, and more than we'd like to admit. And so I would suggest that, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. We all have however many hours we're on the screen or on the computer, that you could cut out 10 minutes of that and not have an impact on your business. And so a lot of people say that, they just haven't been able to make the time, or they don't have the time. And the cool thing about exercise, yoga, whatever modality you're involved with, is that it has such a multitude of benefits that even if you just do 5 minutes, even if you just do 10 minutes, it has an amazingly immediate but also lasting effect. And so what I would suggest to people that feel like they don't have the time is to commit to 5 minutes first thing in the morning, and do it as a little bit of an experiment of like, okay, so when I do these 5 minutes, how do I feel for the next few hours after that? How do I feel that day? And what is my productivity level that day? Because when we give ourselves that time and attention and intentionally like move into, whether it's, strong postural alignment out of the like slouchy position that we're all in way too much, or feeling mentally calm, emotionally feeling good and vibrant and all that. The reality of that is that we actually get more done. We get more done because we're more focused. Our brain is, less stressed, so it's sharper, making good decisions, being more creative. So people think that they don't have time, but if they can allocate just a little bit of time, it actually pays off in dividends, because it really will affect your performance overall for the rest of the day. So it's kind of one of those catch-22s.
And I see a lot of people say too that we have time for things that are important to us. So you just have to, I think, decide that it's a priority, and then you'll have time for it. This is kind of how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And that's why I suggest people to kind of look at it and see how it feels, because when we understand the effect of it and we realize, oh yeah, I do feel better, then it becomes something that's important to us because we see the effects of it, right? And it's like, we're so quick to, turn on the phone first thing in the morning and go check our emails and, look at social media and all that. And that's showing, the world, universe, whatever word you use for that, that's more important than you are. Because if you give yourself some time and attention first thing in the morning, it shows that you prioritize your health and happiness. And that begins to kind of really change how you feel and how you're showing up.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Good.
So how can we use yoga, self-care, like you said, whatever you choose to do, how can we use that to fully show up in our businesses as our most aligned selves?
So the key to that is being intentional about it. So many of you might be familiar with, setting intentions or making that decision. So ultimately setting an intention is making a decision about how you want to feel and what you want to be focusing on, right? And so if you decide to use your practice, whatever that is, again, maybe it's walking the dog, maybe, movement, exercise, to really embody the best version of yourself, that like higher self, if you will, that future self that's achieved all of your goals, and I call it the warrior self. So really using that practice, that 10 minutes or whatever time you have to allocate to it, to intentionally connect to and step into and embody that version of yourself, then not only are you getting, all the laundry list of benefits of yoga and stress reduction and bone density and muscle mass, all of, I could go on for a while about the benefits of yoga and exercise, but you're getting all of that, but you're also really intentionally connecting to that version of yourself. And then by doing that, then you begin to show up from that place so that you can begin to be in that energy and showing up from that perspective. And that will change how you are thinking, the words that you're saying, the energy that you're giving out to your clients, the decisions that you're making, actions that you're taking. And then that gets you that much closer to achieving all of those things that you want to have in your life. So it's really that kind of like who you're being affects what you're doing and then what you have, right? So be, do, have. And so it's being intentional about how you use that time. Because I know we all got a lot on our plate and we got a lot of things. And so it's being intentional so that you get the most out of it every time you do it. And that will help us really, stress less and do more and have more energy and then have amazing results in our business, because the way we show up is feeling very aligned.
Absolutely. It's really kind of like a full circle. Like you think you don't have time to do it, but then when you do it, you feel better and then you get more things done. So, it's just an interesting way of looking at it. So it's definitely important to make time for it and understand how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as your programs go, what would you say if someone says, I don't think I can do that because I've never done yoga before, or I've never tried yoga before, I don't think I'd be any good at it? What do you say to those people? Because I was actually one of those people.
What did I say to you then? No, I'm just kidding. What I say to the people is that that's an amazing thing. And sometimes people tell me, they're like, I'm just not flexible enough for yoga. I'm like, okay, are you too dirty to have a bath too? It's one of those things hello, that's why you need to do it. So when people are just starting out, that's the best way to be, it's because you're kind of like a blank canvas at that point, because there's so much to learn. And that can be intimidating for people, or it can be one of those things of you get to learn so much about yourself, the way you move your body, the way you hold, the way you breathe, the way your habits, your mind. And so because that's really what yoga is a practice of self-awareness and self-discovery, and then ultimately self-love and acceptance. And so I like to teach people in a way that is really sort of step by step, and giving people the information that they need to feel confident and safe in the postures, and build it in a way that they feel comfortable. And it starts to kind of evolve rather than okay, this is the final pose you have to get here. Put your body in this position, that position. And if it doesn't, do that, then fix it so it does, and that's not the way that I look at yoga. And I've not been taught to teach it that way, because yoga is very adaptable and it adapts to the person that's doing it. You don't have to adapt yourself to the practice. You can adapt the practice to you. And so I like to teach it in a way that people feel really safe and comfortable. But also if somebody is not new to yoga and they've done it before, they get to experience it in a totally different way. Because the way that I was taught, it brings together and it uses what's called the muscle meridians, or myofascial meridians, excuse me. So that's muscle and connective tissue. So it's kind of working on all these different parts of your body sort of coming together and treating it as a whole system, so that you get to experience your body in a totally different way. So it's a way that when you start to feel it and you're like, oh, wow, okay, that feels really different. And to carry myself in that different way, it starts to feel different at first, but then that becomes more natural, because that's your body's natural way of holding it, not this position all the time, right? So just taking it easy and taking it step by step and being willing to be gentle with yourself. Because a lot of times that's another lesson that we all need to learn, right? Is that we expect that right out of the gates, you're going to be some sort of like yoga gymnastic master. And that's not the case, right? It's just being patient and being willing to move slowly and give your body time to kind of unfold into the poses and into the practice. And you'll feel better, as we've been talking about. You'll feel better, and then you'll want to go back for more. And then your body's like, okay, yeah, this is good. I'm safe to move and safe to stretch a little further this time, go a little further. Then it starts to kind of, all the layers start to add up, and then the whole pose sort of blossoms, if you will.
I know exactly what you're talking about there, because I actually kind of experienced that in the Wake the Warrior Within program, because I've actually done it 2 full times through now. And the first time there were a few things that, you would do and you would explain, and I would be on the other end of my phone and I would say, what are you, nuts? I can't lift my leg that way. Like, what are you talking about here? And, but I just, like you would say, as you're teaching, if you can't do that, do this, or if you can't do that, just wait a minute or whatever. And so I did that. And then like the second time through, I'm still not perfect by any means, but the second time through, I could feel differences, and, I could say, well, I really couldn't do that last time, but let me try it this time, and it wasn't so bad. So, it's really a cool process.
It is a process, and that's like the thing that people, they kind of just sort of brush it off, but and you've probably heard me make this joke like 500 times already, but it's called a yoga practice for a reason, and it's not called a yoga perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. And so it's really just practicing it and trying and being okay with it. And we learn a lot when we, I don't want to say fail, because there's not a failing in yoga, but just like in business as well, like, in something doesn't go as well as we expected, we didn't get the result we wanted, we get a lesson from it, right? And so when we wobble in the balance poses, we're learning to observe how we speak to ourselves in that moment, and we're learning to be able to adapt and come back to the qualities that you're working on practicing, so that you can, navigate that moment. And so it's a very interesting process as it unfolds. So like you said, it is a process, it's a practice.
For sure. So if anybody watching has any questions, you are welcome to ask them. And I know people will watch the replay too. So if you have any questions as you watch the replay, feel free to ask in the comments. Megan and I will both be watching for those. But Megan, why don't you go ahead and just spend a couple of minutes and tell everybody what you have coming up and what you have going on and how they can reach you. And we'll put links up in the comments too.
Awesome. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So September is yoga month. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm going to be offering a 3-day live yoga workshop. So that'll be September 15th, 16th, and 17th. And that is going to be specifically focusing on helping you get into your most aligned and energized and empowered self, so that you can show up as that version of you every day. So like we've been talking about, making that intentional decision to, anchor yourself, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically into that strong alignment, and all in one practice. And in not a long time, because I know you got a lot to do, but so that it's really giving you these powerful tools and helping you to experience and connect to these teachings. And so what we're going to do is break it down and share these 3 powerful keys from the yoga practice to help you really maximize the effect and the impact of it. And then we're going to do a little bonus session on the last day and bring it all together. And that's where I'll share the story behind the warrior poses and have you experience a practice that really takes those 3 keys and then layers it on with the story of the parable of the of the warrior. Because in yoga, a lot of the different poses have teachings and stories behind them, but people don't realize. And so the stories were traditionally taught with the poses because they have like so much meaning and metaphor. A lot of them are based in Hinduism, so they're a little bit out there. They're like a little bit wild sometimes, but they're metaphorical. And that one is metaphorical for our journey as humans, as we begin to learn and evolve and make our way on our mission, on our path. And so I'm going to share that story on the final day and help you really understand how you can tap into those qualities of the warrior and how they'd be useful in your life and in your business, and so that you can get that full experience. So I'd love to have you all join us for that. And that's going to be September 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll put the link up. If you want to shoot me the link when we're done here, I will put it up in the group. So
perfect.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share today, Megan?
Just realizing that, you deserve some of your time and attention, and making it a priority. And the easiest way to do it, I think, as I mentioned, is just do it first thing in the morning. Give yourself a little moment to recalibrate, and get in your zone, your space, whatever that looks like for you, and really take that time to be with yourself before you go and give of yourself, right? So we give of ourselves as business owners, team leaders, all of that. So really just kind of taking that time for you to feel nourished and supported, and that'll feel great, and then hopefully affect the way that you show up for the rest of the day.
That's really great advice. I'm actually working on that right now myself, because I have a habit of just getting up in the morning and going to start work. So I'm trying to break that habit. So good advice.
Okay. Yay.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. You have a good afternoon.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye, everybody.